Furniture, always the best.
Welcome to Tiger Talk, your source for information about your hometown and surrounding area. Tiger Talk is brought to you by
Whistle Stop Donuts, Mrs. McLovett's Cupcakes, String Beans Coffee House, Hancock's Neighborhood Market, and Brantley Furniture. Stay tuned for Tiger Talk right here on your hometown radio station, WPKY, The Tiger.
Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz is the place to shop for delicious homemade goodness. Hancock's makes their own fresh chicken salad, pimento cheese, salads, and a variety of mouth-watering desserts sure to please your entire family. While at Hancock's, be sure to visit their meat department for the best selection of USDA choice meats in the area. Hancock's Neighborhood Market in Cadiz, hometown, homemade goodness, and the Hancock name you know and trust for quality for your family. Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz.
Make the morning great with a stop at Whistle Stop Donuts on West Main Street in Princeton. Whistle Stop makes their donuts fresh daily, and they're ready on your way to work or school. They have a wide variety of fresh donuts, so you can surprise the office with a dozen delicious donuts. And remember, after 11 a.m., donuts are only $5 per dozen through August 8th. Stop by Whistle Stop today and enjoy a donut or a dozen. They're open 5 a.m. to noon, Monday through Saturday. Whistle Stop Donuts on West Main in Princeton.
And at 8:06, we are here on Tiger Talk and have the pleasure of welcoming into the WPKY studio this morning Raymond Giannini. He is Region 2 HPC Coordinator, and HPC is Healthcare Preparedness Coalition.
Yes, sir.
And good to have Raymond here today on Tiger Talk. And Raymond is a fellow ham radio operator as well. We'll get into maybe some of that later on. So pleasure. And we have our delicious Whistle Stop donut holes. So we might be nibbling on those as we mingle through Tiger Talk today. I'm trying to convince him. Raymond's in a little bit better shape than I am. Doesn't look like he says he partakes in the donuts, but we'll see if I can convince him to have a donut hole before he leaves. But good to have you here, Raymond. And lots of stuff for us to talk about because you're involved with lots of different things, especially when it comes to health preparedness and disaster preparedness and things such as that. But let's begin with the big topic. We're getting close to the 30-day countdown of the Eclipse 2017. So tell us how you're involved with that and some of the things you've been working on as far as the Eclipse is concerned.
Okay. Well, first, thank you for having me. And it's always good to, be on the radio and get the information out, and y'all do a great job with that. So,
thank you.
Thank you for, having it.
You're welcome.
And I know you've had our emergency manager on, and you're going to have more people on. I think you had the public health director on. So it's good to get the information out, so we do appreciate that. But, I'd like to say, hello to everybody, and definitely my first responders out there.
Do a fantastic job.
Day in, day out, they work hard, and I'd always kind of give a shout out to our first responders, but they do a really good job and are key to a good, healthcare response. Of course, the Eclipse is kind of the number one topic that everybody's hearing about, and unfortunately, I think we're going to hear more and more over the next, few weeks until, August the 21st. But there are several important things. I think with the healthcare field and emergency management, we've been working on this for a year and a half, even up 2 years,
right,
trying to prepare and plan for it. But, hopefully, I think it's just going to be a great historical, unique event. Some historical facts. I hate to read it, but just interesting. It talks about the eclipse. It says it'll be the first total eclipse seen in the United States in 26 years, and the first seen in the total U.S. in 38 years. It will also be the first total eclipse to travel across the U.S. from coast to coast since 1918, and it'll be the first total eclipse seen only in the United States since before our nation was founded, which is
Wow,
2 years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, a few years ago.
1776. So it is a great
It is.
historical event, and I know things you and I talked about previous to this. I think just the preparing and planning, whether it's on individual level, county level, regional level, I just think the better that we can plan and prepare. We like to practice some of these things, and
Right.
then participate in some of the preparedness where you can know how to respond. I think that's really key to any good response to any type of unique event, emergency, disaster, or whatever. But I think the eclipse will be a great historical event.
No doubt about it, and we talked about that a little bit off the air. And I know I've had Joey McCaslin, our emergency management coordinator here as well, and we're main concern I think that he has is of course traffic control and what our arteries of transportation will be like, and we really don't know. We just have estimates and numbers. We have a guess. We have an idea. But I guess until that day, there's all you can do is just plan and be the best prepared as possible. Is that your assessment? Yeah.
I think so. And there's things that we can do prior to the event to make it a little bit easier. But we're not used to dealing with large crowds, like a Super Bowl or like a large city may be with the big concerts or things of that nature. But again, there's still certain things that we can discuss in a little bit, about what we can do. A lot of our first responders have been, gearing up. But there's a lot of things to think about, from the emergency management standpoint. You mentioned transportation. Keith Todd and the transportation
Yes.
cabinet, they've been working hard, trying to prepare and make sure the traffic flows good. We've had him, even the National Guard and different ones like that are gearing up with their plans and pre-staging things.
Right.
But then locally, I think we've been doing a good job for quite some time. I mean, Joey's done a great job as our emergency manager the last year and a half or 2 years since he's been involved. But it goes back even prior to that. Even when David Crenshaw, our previous emergency manager, was here, he was discussing it and
Yes.
and pre-planning. Along with our fire and rescue, with Chief Francis and different ones, they've always had some concerns, but again, we have some great local agencies and great first responders, and I think we'll do a very good job. But again, it is going to put a influx of people here that we're not used to. So again,
Right. Recently we have a over the weekend we had the Little Sturgis thing in Union County, which is close by. They usually expect about 10,000 for that, and it's interesting. That's been a consistent, ongoing event for years. It's motorcycles on the highway. It's not cars necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there's some campers, but if we're talking 10 times that, in our area, it can pose some problems. But that they seem to seem to go through pretty well. They handle that pretty well. Of course, most of that is in one area and at a fairgrounds. Once they get there, they do some outside activities. So I guess that's a micro example of potentially what we could expect during the eclipse. And of course, there is a meeting tomorrow, I do believe, out at the Emergency Operations Center.
there is. Joy McCaslin, our emergency manager, has been, holding monthly meetings and sometimes more frequent meetings than that. Of course, then you have to add in the regional meetings and some of the state meetings that we've had. But yes, our local emergency management meeting is tomorrow with all of our first responders, and we've been having a good turnout for that the last several months. But again, last week, Wednesday, we had a great turnout from the whole region, definitely from Caldwell County. We had a FEMA exercise. Even the
Right.
national partners are becoming involved. I think there were close to 250 participants at the FEMA meeting, which was held at Kentucky Dam, which
Yes.
was held really near our region. But I think there were maybe over 200 agencies represented, at that meeting, from all of our community and regional and state partners.
FEMA's assessment about the same for what we're hearing from NASA and the press releases as far as the influx of people. Is that their assessment as well, from what you gathered?
I think you can go to NASA and you can go to different national agencies and even some of the regional ones. It's kind of interesting. Back a year and a half, 2 years ago, when this first were being discussed, several of us knew that it was going to be a big event, and we were trying to talk with some of our outside regional partners and state partners and even some of the national partners, and they were going, well, we're going to have the state fair that weekend, or we're going to have certain events, so we're probably not going to be able to do much with the clips. It's just going to come and go. But the estimates then, they were just tell us what you need and about how many people you're going to have.
Right.
Well, that was one of those things that is very difficult to estimate the exact number. So that's been an issue. And now, since the state partners and some of the national partners have got involved, they've come up with a variety of numbers. But it still looks like, 1 to 200,000, maybe even up to 3 to 400,000 for a 20-plus county region, not just for Cobb County,
right.
but for this region.
Yeah.
But you are correct when you mention that, from Carbondale all the way through Hopkinsville, and of course our 91 corridor
Correct.
Is kind of the central epicenter, they call it. But again, it starts from Oregon and goes all the way out to South Carolina.
Yeah.
So I think people can view this total eclipse from Oregon all the way through South Carolina within just several miles on either side of this line.
Right.
So
I think the big thing, though, is about where the map has been dotted, so to speak.
we are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right across the Caldwell-Christian County line. They say Silurian, but it's right there on 91. Of course, there are a lot of events planned in the region. And
Yeah.
I think Christian County alone is having 14 or 15 different little community events.
Yeah.
And they've coordinated, Kelly, the
Little Green Men, that's right.
They've coordinated some of the
Events around
through
that.
Hopkinsville,
Yeah.
to coincide with this.
And Hopkinsville has really been on this from a marketing standpoint for years.
Well, not really. We had Miss Jung, their coordinator.
Yes.
She was hired last September.
Okay.
So people thought, well, she's been there forever. Though she was hired last
Okay.
September. She's an excellent speaker and does a great job, and she's really enthusiastic about it. But I tell you, the one person that really was pushing local and regional, even state, was Harold Riley with H&R Ministries.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, he has Soul Quest.
Definitely.
He was the one that even 2 to 3 years ago was kind of pre-planning this and
Yeah.
saying everybody needs to get on board. It's coming. Well, he's right. It is here upon us right now.
Yeah.
But I think he was one of the first ones outside of, like I'd mentioned, Joey in the last couple of years and David Crenshaw previous. We had discussed eclipse, even 2 and 3 years
Right.
ago. But as far as our county planning from preparedness standpoint, it started, a year and a half ago, and definitely it started. I think Joey McCaslin had the first county meeting last November. And
Okay.
Had I think 30 or 40 participants, and we've had monthly or bi-monthly meetings since then.
Yes.
So he's done a very good job getting that coordinated. And we're talking about more from the response and preparedness standpoint, not so much the commercialization of it.
Right.
And,
Right.
We're hoping that we have a good outcome, and I still think we will. It's going to be a little hardship in some areas, but again, I think we can deal with it.
We can
very
deal with it, yeah. And of course, Brother Harold is a fantastic organizer, is an organization. It's unbelievable how organized and how he has been with his Soul Quest event, and that'll be a great event for people out there.
That,
I mean,
that and all the other things he's involved with.
Yeah.
He does a good job with getting people together and coordinating things.
He
and
does.
Planning, preparing on that. But I don't think we're so much worried about his event, but it's going to draw a lot of people.
yes.
But again, there are other things going on. There's other events in the region, in the area that people are going to be coming up on our major transportation corridors, I-24, I-69. We're in easy access.
We are.
To get to this area. But again, you're right. There are a lot of areas that you can see the total eclipse, across the whole United States. So I think it's going to be an issue. And some of our federal partners, one of the ladies from Atlanta last week that we met with, she was talking about, they have this same issue from Oregon all the way through South Carolina, dealing with the influx of patients. And, and we'd mentioned a little bit about communication earlier when you talk about, ham radio operators, but
Yeah.
any kind of communication. We had some of the communication suppliers, at the FEMA meeting last week, and they were talking about, they were having this issue from, across every state from Oregon all the way through South Carolina. It wasn't just unique to Western Kentucky.
Right. It's the whole line of of where you can see this thing, that strip that's running from Oregon to South Carolina, I guess. All these little communities along the way, even though they're not pinpointed by NASA or whatever, they're still going to get a great view of the eclipse.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm not sure how many miles on either side of the
Yeah.
line, but I think it's, 30, 40 or 60 miles
Yeah.
on either side that you can see the total eclipse. And then the whole United States will see a partial eclipse
Sure.
Outside of this line. So, again, I think it would be something that our first responders are gearing up, preparing for, and it will be a hardship, but I think it will be a real unique event.
Well, let's take a string beans coffee break,
All right.
catch our breath, have some donut holes, and from Whistle Stop, and then we'll come back and we'll talk maybe some about the public health aspects of this and some of the other things you're involved in. And we'll take a break here on Tiger Talk at 8:19. We'll be back with Raymond Giannini and Tiger Talk. You're listening to WPKY, The Tiger.
String Beans Coffee House in downtown Princeton specializes in made-to-order espresso drinks, hot, over ice, or frozen. They serve lunch Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 2. Like them on Facebook to view their weekly menu. They also rent out the back room for birthday parties, anniversary parties, and baby showers. That's String Beans Coffee House, 108 East Main Street, Princeton. Give them a call, 270-365-0550.
All right, we're back here on Tiger Talk with Raymond Giannini. Of course, Raymond is the Region 2 HPC Coordinator, which is Healthcare Preparedness Coalition. And what are some of the other things we ought to just consider as far as this event is concerned? You've got some odds and ends there and some other stuff that we can touch on. And why don't you just start, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Well, I know a lot of our local and regional partners are going to have a lot of PSAs out, and I know y'all will run a lot of them over the next several
Yes.
weeks. But, one of the main things is not to look at the partial eclipse, as
Right.
it goes to totality. And there'll be several agencies around probably selling or giving away the approved sunglasses. Regular sunglasses do not work, so just make sure that they are an approved type of solar, sunglasses that you can wear. But just regular sunglasses do not work. And people think it's the eclipse time, but when you're looking at the eclipse being around 1:21 on August the 21st, the eclipse is going to start a couple hours prior to that. So prior, in the 11:30 range, even prior, you're going to have a partial eclipse, and that's when you do not want to look at the sun. And then once we have the eclipse at
At totality.
At totality, I still would not recommend looking at the sun, but that is the only time at totality that you can directly look at the sun without protection. But we always encourage protection, with sunglasses that are approved type. But then again, you have the partial eclipse afterwards for the next hour and a half to 2 hours after the totality.
Right.
So there's about a 4.5, 5 hour window prior to and after the total eclipse that you do not want to look at the sun.
You could do damage to your eyes.
And that's where the danger is, to your eyes. And I know the Medical Reserve Coalition that a couple that I work with, Elisa Hopper in Hopkins County, and different ones in our Penn District, area. As this T-shirt is, that is about, ask us about protection. But I do know that some of the local businesses will have some of the solar glasses, for giveaway or for sale.
Right.
So please, take advantage of that and make sure that
And use those things and be wise and be smart when this thing's going on, because you can damage your eyes permanently.
That is true. But there's several things, just kind of using some common sense, is that, is have plenty of supplies on hand, from an individual standpoint, from a business standpoint, is, having a little extra water on hand. And I know some of our local officials have worked with some of the fuel suppliers about
Right.
making sure the tanks are fueled with, gasoline and that time. So, keep your car and truck, fueled up. Don't wait to the day of the eclipse, the day before or that weekend. Go ahead and fill up the week prior to. And I know they've worked with a lot of the suppliers and a lot of the truck lines that deliver. A lot of them are going to be making deliveries, in the evening or through the night instead of through the daytime. There's a lot of planning that's been done to try to get some of the large trucks off the road, and even some of the local farmers have agreed, to try to keep some of their big equipment and machinery off the road through that weekend or even that day.
Right.
Just to avoid any more of a traffic jam. But again, there's several things. When you have a lot of people come into this area, and August is normally hot, and I think with the National Weather Service and Rick Shanklin met with us last
Yeah.
week.
He does a fantastic job as well.
He's an excellent resource.
He is.
But and they're going to forecast to predict the weather, but right now we're a little far out for that. But they're looking at averages going to be mid-low 90s, and we usually have some humidity. But again, staying hydrated, having extra water,
Sunscreen.
and sunscreen, and then when you put that many people out in a rural area, then not only are you going to be in the sun and protect your skin and from sunscreen, or make sure you have the caps or hats or that type of thing. But again, with we do have a lot of insects. We do have
Yes.
things that insect repellent, and we always encourage to use insect repellent or some type of a shield for everybody. Definitely with children that may be playing out in a rural area, to avoid insect bites. But just always follow instructions on any
Definitely.
of these type of things. So that's and if you do get scratched or insect bites or whatever, you probably have like an antibacterial ointment or something of that nature to make sure that you can handle that situation.
Have a little first aid kit. It wouldn't hurt.
Oh, it's always good. And you may hear more from our public health partners. They're going to be talking about the Eclipse kit, because we always talk about
Yes.
having a preparedness kit or a to-go kit or whatever in your home with a few little things. So I think you'll hear more about having an Eclipse kit.
Right. They'll be sending out PSAs
Yes.
and announcements about that.
So
as
they'll
well.
have some of that information in. But again, looking at some of the concerns that our state hospital association, our state public health, epidemiology department. Actually, we're having one of them come and speak at our Region 2 HPC meeting the very first week of August, and help train some of the hospitals on some type of surveillance type things. But when you have people coming from all over the world, and there's been reservations made from almost every country
Yes.
around the world, in this region, you have different potential diseases, infections, and
Sure.
that type of thing. So you have to kind of pre-plan for that. And then and even preparing with language barriers, and
Sure.
and a lot of our first responders and a lot of our healthcare agencies, they either have translators or they have electronic versions of language programs that can help with this. But that's something else we're having to deal with, because there's a lot of concerns there.
Yeah, there would be. And you're around these first responders. Again, they're a professional bunch, and they do their job. They work long hours. What is your assessment of their attitude about all this? They ready to go and prepared, and I don't know. You're out and about, someone goes, "Boy, I wish this thing's going to be over," that kind of thing. But it seems the ones I've talked to, I've seen they're excited. It could be a challenge, but they're up for it, and they're professionals, and they're ready to do their job when the time comes.
I think so. I think we have some of the best first responders, definitely in this county and some in our region, that they deal with events on a daily basis. Maybe not quite like the Eclipse,
Right.
but they deal with emergency disasters, and that's why so many of them are volunteers, or that's their job. So I think they're ready. And with our monthly meetings with all of our first responders, it's just like, and they're doing a lot of planning themselves. They're pre-staging supplies. They're trying to get some volunteers. They're working on their mutual aid agreements. They're working on, the partnerships where they might can have some backup. I know with, EMS and our, with Ben, our EMS director now, and with Chief Francis, with the fire and rescue, they're working trying to get some partners or some strike teams in to come in to assist them. But, one of the unique things is people say, well, it's pretty easy to do a lot of this stuff. But, the Eclipse is a unique event again. We've kind of stressed that to know.
We have, yeah.
But there's really no money. There's no extra dollars from the too much local government, regional, or the state to give these agencies that are pretty strapped, for funding anyway, to hire extra staff or to pay extra staff. So they're having to rely a lot of times on volunteer and their partnerships for people coming in. And then lodging is at a minimum, is really, it's hard to find.
It's hard to
lodging.
find, isn't it?
And if you find it's very expensive now, and usually it's a 2 or 3 night minimum, for the whole, Western Kentucky. So again, I think our first responders are doing a great job, but again, there's no extra money they've been given to buy supplies or to hire additional staff, and so that's something that they're working through. But I feel very confident in our first responders on a daily basis and dealing with the Eclipse event too.
Good deal. Let's shift gears a little bit about communication. You and I are both ham radio operators, and we've participated in some mock drills. There's going to be, I think, some more practice, because when everything else fails and communication grids go down, ham radio operators are important. I know you had firsthand experience of this during the ice storm. We got our local ham radio operators got a message to Frankfurt, and of course we in the Princeton Ham Radio Club we have a vehicle that we can deploy and help with the communication aspects, and I think that plan is in the works. And let's talk a little bit more about how, that's a volunteer organization basically, but they will be a big help potentially to help communications and facilitate some of that as we move forward in this event.
Oh, that's true. I've been around for several years with, my public health career and different things, but anytime we've ever done any mock trainings or exercises or any preparedness, events like that, usually the number one things when you get together and talk about, after action, what can we do better, and, what did we learn from it, is usually communication is always the number one thing that we can always improve on. And we've worked really hard. But to give a thank you to our local ham radio club, we have a lot of active guys, and you're one. Of course, Mike Taylor and has been very involved in it. Of course, Joel McCaslin is one of our communication, keys there.
Yep.
Along with Richard Blackman has been very, very active. And I mean, you can just go on and on.
Yeah.
And we lost a great one with Jim Harmon.
Yes.
He was more in weather ops.
Our weather coordinator. Yeah.
But he was a ham operator for years and years. But any communication is key, and having redundant, meaning different types of communication. In case one goes down, you can rely on a second or a third or different options. And maybe in a few minutes we can talk about our HPC and what we've done with that.
Yes,
but
that'd be
as far as the local ham club and our areas, which is the amateur radio emergency services, again, yes, we've been real fortunate to. We did have an old ambulance converted to a communication vehicle.
Yeah.
And now we actually have a newer trailer that y'all been working on. We've been working on, trying to modify it with different types of ham radio and different frequencies, a lot of the emergency channels, not just ham radio.
Right.
But we weren't really going to talk about, bad stuff like the ice storm. However, since you brought it up.
Yeah, let's,
I've mentioned this, several times over the years. David Crenshaw did prepare quite a bit a few days prior to it, since we did have the weather forecast.
forecast.
But not everybody, I don't think anybody from the local, regional, even state level thought it would be quite the impact it had on us. But we were one of the first set up, and Mr. Crenshaw asked me, he said, go turn that satellite radio on. And we had a satellite radio, which is several across the state. We turned it on. We were talking, but nobody could hear us. Nobody turned theirs on, or they had their satellite, radios iced in. So we were active. He knew how to get ours going, and ours was working perfectly, but we could not get any response. But so again, I talked to our, amateur radio operators. At the time, Richard Blackburn was one of the key, and he and his wife, Gail, were very instrumental of that. They came out and got the old ambulance, we call
Fired
it
up.
COM 1,
COM
fired
1,
up,
yep.
and got online, and it just was amazing. It's when we made contact, we actually went through kind of Trigg County, which was an operator that had just got its license just a month or two prior to the ice storm, and I had just got mine the year previous
Right.
to that. But we made contacts really through Trigg County, went through Clarksville. I talked to some of my contacts through Clarksville, and they went towards Knoxville, and then they went in the back door. Excuse me.
Up I-75,
Went in
I
the back
guess.
door, communication-wise,
Yeah.
into Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt could not directly talk to us. But in a roundabout way, we had to go, down south and come back through.
Yeah.
But that's what convinced me that amateur radio, ham radio, is a great asset to our community.
No doubt.
And it's a great hobby. I
It
know
is.
it's a hobby for you, and I don't really use it on a daily basis like a lot of y'all do, and I'm sure it's a great fun hobby, but again, I know it's a key asset, in a emergency event.
It is, and I've been licensed a long time. The funny thing was, I always tell people, I missed the ice storm. I had sold all my equipment, and I totally missed the ice storm. And so I just beat myself up that I didn't have any equipment at the time. I really didn't, and had been licensed since the mid '90s, and so I regret that. So I'll be ready next time.
Good.
I've equipment backed up, but yeah, our club here, and the coordination with our club, with the first responders, with the EOC, with all the agencies, I think is very good, and that's the key. I know recently, our state COMEX exercise, that's when a bunch of agencies come together and see if they can communicate with each other. I participated in one, did not get to participate this year, but that's always interesting too, to see how different agencies can communicate on different frequencies, on different modes, different channels, and that kind of thing.
Oh yes, that was a major event, and to host it here in Princeton
Yeah.
at the Fire Training Center back in June.
Yeah.
Actually, the COMEX exercise, which is a communication exercise, what it stands for, was over 3 weeks. But
Yes.
there was 3 days that they were set up at the Fire Training Center, and we had all of our state partners, national partners come in, and y'all covered it, and so did our Times leader.
Yes.
They did a good job, with the pictures in the paper, but
Definitely.
you really couldn't understand the magnitude of the equipment that came in. Because this equipment could talk around the world, and so it's just good to know we have those resources. And we've come a very long way, since the ice storm. And like I said, the ham radio club, that they get me. I kind of do kind of a study group or an introduction to ham radio. And if anybody wants to do that, they can contact you or me, or they
Yeah.
can contact Joy McCaslin,
We can get you in the right
or,
spot.
or Mike Taylor. And I know y'all meet with the Ham Radio Club almost every Tuesday at Hardee's from around 10 to 12.
Come on out. That's
it's
exactly
kind of
right.
a weekly meeting. So if anybody's interested,
That's
if
today.
you really like communications, or if you're real techie, and a lot of people think about ham radio being that you might have Morse code, and it's maybe an old type of system, but for the new techs now, and I know you're into different types.
There's
and,
a lot of digital communications now.
and one of the things that we're really expanding, our local EMS with Ben Wolford, but also Jim Dukes, who is over ComCare for several counties and EMS, agencies around Western Kentucky. He's real involved in what they call WinLink, which
Yes.
is a subtype of ham radio. but it's linked through your computer, your smartphone, whatever. And we've expanded it. I mean, I've worked with them from our Region 2 Healthcare Preparedness Coalition with equipment and supplies, and with Jim Dukes and Joel McCaslin with their expertise. We've expanded from Todd County, Allen County, up through Christian, through Hopkins County, and includes Caldwell. And we're working now to go ahead and expand further, kind of northwest of here, more into Crittenden and Livingston. And that's just another redundant communication that can be used even if your ham radio main signals are down a little bit. WinLink usually can be transmitted.
Yeah.
And then other PSK, and there's different ones that if for somebody that really likes that.
Yeah, there's some
tech
great
side. There are a lot of computer applications,
Definitely.
satellite applications now with that. But again, if anybody wants to become a ham operator, they can contact one of us. But usually about once a month, I do kind of an introduction on telling people how they can study, because the Amateur Radio Association, they made the test really to pass. And it's not a very difficult test, but you do have to pass. And it's just a 35-question test.
You got to understand some concepts, though.
You have to understand the concept. But the technician level
Yes.
is really made, the test is made to pass, and it is an introduction level. But it gives you, it gets you on the air, it gets you a license, and it is a very good, friendly, family type of
Yeah, no doubt.
project. It's not like what people think of, like a CB or
No.
things of that nature. No disrespect to CB operators, but ham radio is a very family friendly, and that a lot of times it is used not only for personal use, and for fun and as a hobby, but it's used for like I said, for emergency services, and so it really comes in key that way. But again, I think probably. I know in September we have a study group, but we'll probably may even have one prior to the eclipse, because I have
deal.
several people in several counties wanting to
interested.
learn how to do that. And all I do is, I should let you or Joey or Mike or one of the experts like that do this. But what I try to do is show people how they can study, and it's free, and you can do it online, or we can make copies, but. We try to do a very simple, easy way to where it's easier to pass the test and become an operator. Then once you become licensed, then you can see what area or part of the ham radio that you like. So then if you want to get a little bit more into building of it, if you really want to get more in the tech side of it, I mean, you can really study and learn more.
There's so much to do with the hobby. So. But you've done a fantastic job in condensing the information and putting it in a format where it is that way, and kudos to you for that.
Well,
because see any one of us, or come out to Hardee's on Tuesdays. We can get you fixed up. And Raymond gives a test here in the county, the EOC, every third Saturday at 10 o'clock. So if you're studying and you're out there and you're hearing this, show up at the EOC and or give us a call and let us know you're coming, and we'll administer a test to you. But what are some of the other things here? We still got a little bit of time to talk. You've got a lot of stuff there to talk about. Tell us about some of your HPC activities and some of the things you do as far as that is concerned.
Okay, our Region 2 HPC, which is Healthcare Preparedness Coalition, it's been formed. We've been going about 10 years. Prior to me retiring and leaving my public health world, I worked with this agency quite a bit, and it was to get money and grants and stuff to help local healthcare agencies, not just public health or not just hospitals, but it is coordinated at the state level through the Kentucky Hospital Association in partnership with the State Department of Public Health Preparedness Branch. So a few years ago, just 2 or 3 years ago, they kind of tried to get me back involved, which I got back involved with them. And main thing we do, we coordinate trainings and exercises. We work on the grant work because, again, I really like to make sure that rural Western Kentucky gets their fair share, whether it is equipment, supplies, the dollars or grant dollars, back to our healthcare agencies, because we have a lot of great healthcare agencies, within ours. But our Region 2 Healthcare Coalition is made up of we have 9 hospitals. We've got 7 frontline hospitals in our Pennyrile. Region 2 is basically the Pennyrile, nine
Okay.
Pennyrile area. But we have our hospital partners that they are real active to participate. We have our health departments. We have the Pennyrile District along with some independent, counties with Christian and Hopkins and Todd and Muhlenberg County, health departments. Our EMS, emergency services, ambulance service. We have good participation from all of our 9 county EMS agencies. Our emergency managers, like Joel McCasson locally, are real involved with our Healthcare Preparedness Coalition, along with long-term care, which is, we have a lot of long-term care, in Region 2. Along mental health, we have mental health partners, coroners involved, and we have other key, healthcare agencies, within our first responder group that participates in our coalition.
Excellent. And I know there was a time there where you spent a lot of time being able to link all the hospitals to be able to communicate with each other. I mean, through radio as well. But it's fabulous work. I know there's always something to do, and it's so important, the grant writing aspect. Not everybody can write a grant. That's some technical writing and certain way things are worded. And you've kind of, seems to me that you've kind of gotten accustomed to it and used to it, and it's something that you're getting pretty good at.
well, I've done that for years.
Yeah.
However, with the Healthcare Coalition, since we do have those state agencies, they really work with us on to get the national dollars in here,
Right.
to get Kentucky's fair share, and we work to make sure that we get our region and our local county
It's directed this way.
funds, directly to the area. So it's a simpler process now than some of the old grant processes that we used to have to work back in my public health days. But we do a lot of training and things. We provide the decon training for the hospitals and
Right.
coordinate that and help.
You did that earlier in the year, I think. I
We
saw.
did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did almost all the hospitals in our region did decon training from usually. One of them did it last December. They
Okay.
wanted to try the decon, which is in cooler or cold weather. Most of the other hospitals from March through May of 2017 did
Okay.
that. One of the big events that we had this year was on March the 1st. We had what we called our Eclipse Hospital Exercise, which was a simulation of Eclipse event to tax or to give a scenario to all of our hospitals and let them respond. So each hospital had to coordinate their emergency operations center within their department. And I think most of the local hospitals had anywhere from 22 to 35 people at each of the hospital sites. And then we had a regional site that we had local, regional, and state partners that we sent them different injects or scenarios that they had to deal and work through. And we have several scenarios through communication. We have what we call a web EOC, that's a web-based count where they have to track patient, bed count, those type of things, satellite radio. So it was very taxing, but it was a very
Probably very beneficial.
it was, I think, very, very beneficial, but that was one of the better exercises that we've ever pulled off. That was actually a functional, meaning they had to perform these type of duties. So, we do that, and of course, we went through June with several communication exercises,
Right.
not only with our HPC, but we participated in comics that you had mentioned. Of course, we had the Ham Fest through the local Ham Radio Club.
Right.
And then at the end of the month, they had Field
Had
Day,
our field day,
which
yeah.
is a 24-hour backup power where it's kind of a competition, but again, y'all have 3 or 4, I say y'all, but we had
Yeah.
3 or 4 different frequencies that you can make contacts around the United States and in some around the world.
Yeah, we used mainly the 20, 40, and 80 meter bands, some up on 15 and 17, but you can communicate all over the world. But this is a ARRL sponsored deal. It's not really a contest, but it's sort of a contest. So, but yeah, that was a great event as well because there's no commercial power. It's all either solar panel, a generator, or that kind of thing. But we've got a few more minutes here. I do want to take a Miss McLovett's Cupcake Craze break.
All right.
And we'll come back and kind of wrap up and get some final thoughts on some things. And we'll take a break and be right back here. You're listening to Tiger Talk with Raymond Giannini, Ty Engelbright, on your hometown radio station, WPKY, The Tiger.
Shh! It's Princeton's best-kept secret. Pardon me?
Mrs. McLovin's Cupcakes in downtown Princeton. It's truly the best kept secret in Princeton. Come down and enjoy a delicious homemade cupcake made from scratch and only from the finest ingredients. While downtown, enjoy a sweet treat on the patio in front of our shop. It's a delightful way to spend a moment with a friend or someone you love. Check out Instagram and Facebook for the Mrs. McLovin's Flavor of the Week. Mrs. McLovin's Cupcakes on Lower Main in Princeton, where there's always room for a cupcake. Phone 270-963-2544 to place an order.
When you think of downtown Princeton, it's hard not to think about Brantley Furniture. Brantley Furniture is a family-owned business that has been selling quality furniture at affordable prices for many years in downtown Princeton. Let the girls at Brantley Furniture help you select the right living room suite, dining room set, or recliner for your home. If you're getting married or expecting that little one, be sure to register at Brantley Furniture. Also, like them on Facebook to see their weekly specials. And remember to see the girls at Brantley Furniture when you're ready to buy quality furniture at affordable prices. Brantley Furniture on Main Street in downtown Princeton.
And at 8:49, we are back here on Tiger Talk with Raymond Giannini. Raymond, we're up to 78 degrees, and of course, with this heat and humidity, we talked about it during this clip. You know, we've got this excessive heat watch coming up the remainder of the week, and that's a public health concern in its own right. People that are out here, I see guys out here working right here on the street, but in the middle of the afternoon, if you're out on concrete and you're working hard, the humidity levels it's hot, and people need to be careful, don't they?
Oh, they really do. Again, staying hydrated, and a lot of times the hydration starts not just through the event that you're working on, but even sometimes a day or two prior to that.
Right.
I know we talk with our tennis kids and stuff like that, through tennis season, that, you hydrate, through the week prior to the event. You don't wait to you actually working or getting in some type of an event that you hydrate. So that's something that you just need to take precautions, and
definitely.
Hopefully, and that's another issue, that, being in August, we talk about the eclipse, is, we're anticipating that we'll have some heat events, but hopefully everybody will, prepare and plan and stay hydrated and not have the events. But, this week and like any week, you should stay hydrated and
No doubt. I mean, it's so important to stay hydrated in this summer weather, and like you said, it begins. You need to be drinking, plenty of water daily, and at least 64 ounces. I mean, at least that, man. I know they say 8-ounce bottles, but if you want to go more than that, especially if you're going to be outside, just drink a gallon or keep on rolling.
I think this recommend adjust their own, usage, but again, water is really one of the best things to do, and just, stay hydrated, whatever your amount is, but be safe in the heat, and it's always a good idea to, again, prepare and plan for that.
Yes, sir. What have we, how do you want to wrap this session up today and stress to folks, whether it be about the eclipse, public health, or whatever thing you're involved in? What should folks, we talked about the preparedness, be prepared. There will be an influx of people. Be patient. Stock. Don't have to panically stock up, but at least have maybe some extra water and keep your car filled up. Those kind of things. But any last minute words about?
Well, just know that this event is a planned event, and after that Monday, that it may be busy for that Tuesday and maybe even into Wednesday a little
right.
bit with everybody leaving. But again, it will be over within a day or two. But again, just plan and prepare, and I think somewhat be a little bit more tolerant. Like I mentioned earlier, our media with the Tiger and with our Times leader, and there would be a lot more information that will come. And
right.
I know a lot of us are about eclipse planning out. But again, be patient with it. But do heed the advice. Wear eclipse glasses. On that day.
Read the instructions.
Read the instructions and be real careful. And just pre-plan. But just heed the advice, and it should be a great historical event. And hopefully, everybody have a fun, safe, eclipse time in rural Western Kentucky.
Yeah, it's going to be neat, and it's an event of a lifetime, really, for some of us. I think 2024. There might be another one that's, it's kind of, I've seen other maps, close by, it comes up from the other way, but it's pretty much going to be a similar type deal.
And I think we'll have some partial eclipse and that type of
yeah.
thing, but again, But having the totality like we're going to have across the whole United States
It's a long-time event, yeah.
It's a rare historical event.
It is.
But it just don't get too put out with all the messages. But we do thank y'all for putting the messages on, and we thank the other
Yes.
local media, the information that they'll put out. But just heed the warnings and be safe, and have a great time, not only through the clips but through the whole summer.
Okay. Well, Raymond, we thank you so much for all your efforts with this, what you've done in the past with the ice storm, with all your HPC and your coordinating efforts, your grant writing. We need folks like you protecting us out there and looking out for us. And we can't thank you enough for the work that you do day in, day out, kind of behind the scenes. And it's important work, and it's good work, and it keeps us safe and keeps us healthy. And we can't thank you enough for what you do and all the folks that you work with.
Well, thank you. We have a lot of great volunteers around. Our community is very giving, and that's one of the keys why we have good outcomes. A lot of things is we have such good community support and such good volunteer group across our community.
No doubt about it. Thank you for your time, and that's going to wrap up a Tuesday edition of Tiger Talk here on your hometown radio station, WPKY The Tiger. I want to thank Raymond Giannini for being here. He is our Region 2 HPC Coordinator, and appreciate the efforts of him and his office and the many things that he does to help us and keep us informed and healthy here in Western Kentucky. It is 8:55 coming up. We're, again, temperature rising just a little bit here. We're up to about 79 degrees here in Princeton. Do be careful you're out and about today. Slight chance of a shower coming up this afternoon. It'd be isolated in nature, probably not long lasting. And then, of course, the heat kicks in. If you're out there and out and about today, do be safe, stay hydrated, and get in and out of some shade or some air conditioning. Check on your relatives, watch those pets as well. That's going to do it for this edition of Tiger Talk. Hope everyone has